Relationships are complicated things, aren't they? And not just the romantic kind, but friendships, work, and family. Now, I believe in the power of authentic, genuine connections, and I think sometimes we need to be looking at these in slightly different ways. Maybe that's because I met my husband before we were both born. Now, I know that sounds somewhat unusual, but with this relationship, my mum did all the hard work for me. You see, she met my future mother-in-law at an antenatal class. And although my husband and I didn't grow up together, or even really stay in touch after we were little, phones not really being popular with toddlers in those days, we reconnected at a party in our 20s. We built a connection, and that became love. In fact, a lot of my friends and the clients I've coached met their partners in entirely serendipitous ways. Some met through work, some met at parties, and some even met on trains. But they all built relationships on real connection, on genuine feelings and curiosity and authenticity. Now, I've got nothing against speed dating or swiping right. In fact, I'm in favour of anything that might help us find friends, potential business partners, or fall in love. I just believe that any method of connection that involves speed or immediacy, or that requires us to sell an augmented version of ourselves, removes the most important part of a relationship, namely, a chance to really think, connect, and bond. Now, I'm not here today to help you improve your dating profile. In fact, these days, I specialise in a different kind of relationship between professional people looking to connect and network. And over the course of my career, I've attended a lot of networking events. You'll know the ones, roomfuls of people talking loudly about themselves, their careers, their achievements, or while you sit there feeling awkward as they look eagerly over your shoulder for their next target. And what's extraordinary is that so many of these are industry events, connecting people offering a similar service, all desperate to sell, sell, sell. My reaction has always been to make a quick exit, because at these kinds of events, quantity definitely wins over quality. And instead of spending more time trying to build a lasting relationship, the pressure is on to find as many potential leads as possible. Now, we have to promote our businesses. We have to build brand awareness. But is reciting our elevator pitch to anyone that will listen the most effective way to be building networks that last and that work? These build slowly when we listen, we ask, we empathise, we develop a relevant dialogue. Roots grow as something real develops. So, how do we meet people professionally? How do we grow our contacts if we can't network in this transactional way? Well, the first step is to think very differently about networking. Relationships matter. 85% of jobs are found through networks, not adverts. But we need to build networks that work, based on trust, authenticity, and curiosity, and which don't start with a specific business outcome in mind. Because networking has become confused with sales. It has become something much less intimate and much more transactional. It should be about building meaningful connection. It should be reciprocal, not transactional. And it should be exciting because it brings people together who want to collaborate rather than compete, and inspire rather than invoice. So why do we morph into this weird professional version of ourselves at work when we do much better by being normal us over coffee? With over a decade of experience in luxury hospitality, events and consulting, I've learned that what matters most is listening and understanding. And almost all the connections I've made, and a lot of the clients I work with, have come through word of mouth. People recommend me because they know me, not because they're trying to hit their referral targets at a networking breakfast. But when I was training for work in the events industry, where excellence is founded on building genuine connections with your client, I knew that one of my calls to a client would be recorded and critiqued by my colleagues so we could all learn from the experience. So I put my game face on, my client-facing face, and I made the call. I became the Ellie that I thought clients wanted to see, the professional Ellie. I said the word wonderful almost 17 times in the space of a few minutes. A word I would never normally say, at least not that often in normal conversation. And it genuinely made me cringe inside as we listened back and I saw how inauthentic I became when I wore my professional persona. And after that, I decided to return to being human and compassionate rather than a corporate robot. And now every conversation I have is more successful because success is about trust and it's about being ourselves. Someone once told me that I was good at networking, and I was actually offended because to me, that was code for self-serving and fake, pursuing relationships for personal advantage only. My problem is that I'm naturally curious, maybe nosy, but I want to know why people do what they do. I ask endless questions. For me, it's always been about finding friends, helping others, sharing stories, and learning. A network is just about being part of a community. We're social creatures, and we all want to feel like we belong. So I avoid events with networking in the title, because every day we meet people. We meet them online, at events, and in co-working spaces. And unless we start up a conversation, we don't know whether we have similar interests, similar goals, or even skills and services that could help each other. Now, I'm not advocating bringing your business cards to your friend's baby shower, but I am talking about always being interested and always open to new opportunities. I was once on a podcast with someone in Hong Kong, and after getting to know the presenter, she suggested introducing me to someone that she thought I might like. It was a bold call. I live in England, she's in France. We have different backgrounds, different perspectives, even our interests are different. In fact, all we have in common is we both run our own businesses and have a mutual friend who thinks we'd get on. And we do. But more than that, the diversity of ideas and opinion that we offer each other help us both break out of our specific echo chambers. Our differences allow us to challenge each other, to think differently about our businesses, and to push each other forward. And I'm not alone. I have spoken to a number of founders who've all gone into business with people with whom they have little in common, but who realise that those differences make them natural partners. But we live in an online world, which makes this sort of partnership difficult to find. Brian Uzi talks about the self-similarity bias. And when we do all of our networking online, we get caught up in echo chambers. It's too easy to connect with people who are the same as we are. But the internet can be a positive and proactive space to meet new and interesting people. It allows us to connect without having to be on show, with a safety barrier, giving us time to think and to ask the right questions and to represent ourselves authentically rather than in a panicked rush to pitch. Last year, I joined an online group of 8 incredible people, all of whom were at a career crossroads. We were a diverse group, different nationalities, generations, career pathways. Would we have met in real life? Unlikely, but the results were inspiring. We made lasting, genuine connections with people from outside our bubbles. We challenged each other. We gave objective, thoughtful advice, and we all gained a whole new perspective. It was probably the best networking I've ever done, yet we hadn't intended to network. We'd aimed to problem solve. But I have ended up meeting more clients through this eclectic group than through any targeted networking event. And we did all this online. We broke the mold. We deliberately met people who were different to us, with different stories to tell, which surely is the real point of connecting. So let's stop networking and start connecting, because networking is not working. Let's redefine it and take it back to its roots. Let's create heterophilous and diverse communities of people who share goals rather than careers. We don't need to seek replicas of ourselves. Instead, let's look for serendipitous connections rather than forced fun. Create your own event where everyone invited brings one interesting person along. One of the most successful events I ever hosted was an intimate dinner. I invited people I thought were engaging, fun, and interesting, and I asked each of those people to invite their own guest. People who wouldn't have met otherwise. And I absolutely outlawed the question. So, what do you do? Let's encourage curiosity instead of closed questions that lead to mechanical answers. And let's judge an event not by the number of LinkedIn connections we make or how many times we explain our role to a total stranger. Instead, let's focus on meaningful connection. Right now, in this room, we are surrounded by an eager audience, all made up of inquisitive minds, open to new ideas. So why not take this moment to start something new? Real connection starts with being interested, with the courage to be truly yourself, and a willingness to expose your vulnerabilities. So take every opportunity, every day, to connect, whether online or offline, with people who inspire you, who lift you up, and who offer you a new way of thinking. It's authentic, it's human, and it works.